Hello there, my name is Nathan Foy, and we've got a US significant events occurring over the next few days, beginning today, as many people may have already witnessed. Snow piling through the northeastern United States and potential for severe weather in the southeast in Florida today as well. I'm joined by Ethan Bruning, our top producer and obviously well versed on US weather from a cold but not very snowy Indianapolis. Ethan.
I wouldn't really say it's cold. The temperature has gradually risen throughout the day today. We bottomed out, I think, around the high 20s, 29, 28 degrees around there overnight tonight. We did get 2.5 inches of snowfall overnight tonight, but we are expected to warm gradually into the mid 40s as the upcoming winter storm that is going to start developing pretty soon over the Midwest. Winter storm watches are already being issued in portions of the Midwest. We are going to be on the warm side of that, so temperatures are going to warm. But then after that, they are expected to take a massive dive with an Arctic blast coming on in.
Let's get right into it. These are the live National Weather Service warnings right now on my screen at first, but I'll pan over to Ethan's in a moment showing us the same info. Those pink areas in the northeast there, winter storm warnings, and quite a few of them out west as well. But I'm going to hand over to Ethan to show us all of the main warnings that are currently out there in more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, our biggest story right now, I would say that for the U.S. as it stands right now, on January the 6th, is this winter storm that is pushing through the northeast U.S. right now. I can get some radar up. It's just gonna be just a minute for it to
Oh, I've
load.
already got it.
Um,
Here's some
okay,
radar
good.
of the situation right now. And as you can
But
see, a big band of rain, sleet, and snow, depending on where you are, that dividing line, very fine margins, isn't it?
yes, it's sort of been dividing itself right along the Interstate 95 corridor, which I think is quite hilarious, considering that that is normally pre-talked about whenever it comes to these big winter storms. But right now, we are seeing snow totals gradually rise across Pennsylvania and into New York. Snowfall hasn't begun yet in portions of southern New England, with thinking Hartford, Connecticut, Springfield, Massachusetts, and including Boston. Those three cities could get massive snowfall accumulations tonight. I know that in particular for the southern New England areas, they are forecast to get around 8 to 12 inches of snow tonight, which many locations are going to go to bed tonight just in their heavy snowfall spell beginning. And they're going to wake up to potentially a foot or more of snow on the ground tomorrow morning. And then where does it go after that? We'll have to wait and see on that. I think it's forecasted a little bit warmer, so this snowfall isn't going to be sticking around, unfortunately, for these locations. But it is worth noting that this is the first major winter storm for these regions in over a year, considering that many locations in this area last winter, throughout the whole season last winter, did not even get above 3 to 5 inches of snowfall for the entire season. That is ridiculous. So this is a welcome sight for a lot of areas up here in the Northeast.
Now, with a winter weather warning, what are the biggest dangers right now, Ethan?
Well, of course, right now we have a winter storm warnings in place right now, extending from northeastern West Virginia through towards Boston and Portland, Maine. So going right along and just northwest of the Interstate 95 corridor, going into interior New York. Those remain in effect until what looks to be 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow for many of these locations. Of course, that might vary by a few hours or so, given on the location, as far as 1 a.m. in Pennsylvania. But of course, you got those winter weather advisories extending up towards the north, towards the border with Canada. But these winter storm warnings are in place for very heavy snowfall, and that's going to continue to be the main threat with this system as it pushes off towards the northeast. Really a classical northeaster moving off towards the east here, Nathan.
Now, looking at the context in terms of this season so far, it's been a poor one for many, hasn't it, Ethan? First of all, looking at Chicago, O'Hare here, the average at this point, they would have expected nearly 11, I think that's inches, yep, 11 inches by now, and their totals are how much?
I don't even think that it really tops an inch, to be honest.
Not even an
Or if
inch.
it does, it might go slightly beyond that. It's not really a whole lot. The snow deficit for areas here in the Midwest, you're thinking Chicago, Indianapolis, St. Louis, Kansas City. Kansas as a whole right now is actually above average on snowfall. One of the few locations in the U.S. that is actually
Yep.
across the eastern U.S. right now are below average on snowfall, unfortunately.
And
And
Indianapolis, its average at this point is 8.4. What's your current total, Ethan?
of course, well, we did get 2.5 inches overnight,
You
so
did?
that's
Right.
our snow total. That is it. That was our first snow accumulation of the season so far. So we've only at 2.5 inches.
Well, on this
But if I had to
chart, it
guess,
actually still says 0, so...
oh yeah, that's because the climate reports, which normally come out in the later parts of the afternoon, haven't come out yet. So.
Okay. But these two places particularly, you're expecting big ramifications next week.
Yes, so we've got a really complicated forecast, and what I'm about to say for we have two winter storms that are looking likely, and I'm going to warn this because what I'm about to say is not set in stone for either of these storms. Yes, we are expecting a major winter storm to push through places of the Midwest and Great Lakes in the next 72 to 96 hours, going into the early parts of next week. That forecast is still not set in stone, which is quite rare to see it this close and
Yeah.
have a forecast not set in stone. What we're looking at right now in terms of this first winter storm is, of course, we've got winter storm watches extending from northeastern New Mexico through the Midwest, and these will probably expand off towards the east, probably including Chicago, probably tonight if I had to guess. And these will continue to expand off towards the east with time. And I'll go over to the model section now, Nathan, if you don't mind.
As you do
And
that,
I'll
I'll just
go.
show you this graphic first for everyone watching the Climate Prediction Center, which I'm sure you've been looking at as well. They're predicting way below average temperatures, and that will come into play with this next feature, right?
No, actually, it's the
No?
second one. So I'll explain everything here. So
Okay.
we've got this first. So right now, this first storm that we've got coming is actually developing right now over the Pacific Northwest. You can see it here on the NAM radar run. That is our storm that we're going to be seeing. Though it's a question of when does this low form and where does it track? You can see here the NAM. I pulled up a sounding by accident. The NAM model in particular has it developing sometime late on Monday into Tuesday, and then the NAM in particular develops this low and pushes it well off towards the northwest. I have to say, this is a
Ugh.
extreme northwest example. It's going to be a little bit farther towards the southeast, but you can see here that winter storm moves off through many Midwestern locations with quite a massive squall line down towards the southeast. I'll get to that in just a minute. That's the severe weather side of this. But this low pressure system is going to be bringing a lot of strong winds, heavy snowfall on the northeastern side, as well as maybe on the backside, and heavy rainfall just to the southeastern side. The general model consensus for this system right now, as far as it's concerned, for this low pressure system, is it developing somewhere in this area. Now, a question is still yet to be answered. Where exactly does it track? Because if this system tracks off towards the southeast and passes just over Indianapolis, that would shift these snow totals slightly off towards the southeast of Chicago. But at the moment, the general track that we're expecting, it looks like a track just to the northwest of Indianapolis, sort of in between Indy and Chicago, and that would bring the bulk of the snow totals in this vicinity. So we're thinking Chicago, Milwaukee, maybe Cedar Rapids, maybe even St. Louis, Central Illinois as well could get a bulk of the snowfall from this system. And as well as we're going to be seeing a lot of heavy rainfall on the backside of this. This does include Indiana, Central Kentucky, Ohio. These areas are going to be receiving some much-needed rainfall as the drought in this area is quite bad for these regions. But relief is on the way, thankfully. And then, of course, you got the severe weather side of this thing. The Storm Prediction Center, I believe, has a day 3 slight risk out right now for portions of the Gulf Coast. This is for Monday that we're talking about here. Of course, probably damaging winds and tornadoes are going to be the primary threat. Remains to be seen if this is upgraded to an enhanced risk. We'll have to wait and see on that. But a more substantial severe weather day looks to be developing on Tuesday, and this is for day 4. And this is going to be a day to watch, I think, for severe weather and especially tornadoes across portions of the southeast. I know that a lot of people have been bringing comparisons to the high-risk event in 2017. I wouldn't necessarily compare it to that, but a substantial severe weather day looks likely. But to what extent, we don't really know yet. We'll have to wait and see when we get into the ranges of the higher resolution models. That's the NAM and the HRRR. They'll have a better idea of what's going to pan out with these severe weather events. But looks like that a pretty big squall line and a pretty decent tornado setup is looking like with this first system, Nathan.
And still a small day one threat that's still active in southwestern Florida.
Yes, we've been seeing a few watches and warnings go off. I've been seeing a few tornado warnings go off tonight, but that's generally going to be probably closing in the next few hours, if not already, to be honest. Of course, we've got a special weather statement as of this video being recorded right now at 5:10 p.m. In effect for the next 20 minutes for portions of the northwestern Miami area. So a general localized event closing out in the next few hours.
So finally on the big Midwest event, total accumulations, what are we thinking?
So right now, total snow accumulations, I'll pull up the GFS because I think that it is a reasonable alternative whenever it comes to this. It's just done the 18Z run. So I'll show the snow. I'll show the reflectivity here for it just real quick, and you can see it developing that low pressure area, moving just in between Chicago and Indianapolis. I think this is going to be the most likely outcome. Of course, a few miles shift could determine on who gets the worst snowfall and who gets no snow at all. So it's going to be a precarious situation to say the least. But I'll go to the snow accumulations. You're going to want to use 10 for 1. I'll explain why 10 for 1 is the best situation here in just a minute. But you can see here some snow totals. So of course you got some isolated snow totals that are going to happen overnight tonight in these areas. That's mainly on the backside of the nor'easter that's going to be moving out tonight. So that's going to happen. And then you got this major winter storm that looks to be moving in. We're looking at potentially 8 to 12 inches, maybe a little bit more, across portions of northern Missouri and northern Illinois. In particular, the latest GFS run sets up this higher snow band in between Chicago and Milwaukee, although it is very important with both of these winter storms that I'm about to talk about, this one, and the upcoming one, I should say, for next week, both of them next week. It is not important to look at one model run at face value. You want to observe model trends and just stay tuned to your National Weather Service office, because this is a very rapidly changing scenario, and it's still this forecast isn't even set in certain. And tracks of this system and how strong this low pressure system gets can have a drastic change on both track and the impact that the system brings. Even in terms of the severe weather side of things, that impacts could change depending on how strong and the track of the system, Nathan.
I forgot where I was going to go next, but I think that's everything, Ethan. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up there?
For that first one, there's another one just like it coming out. Yeah, so then we've got this second winter storm that's going to be coming on through for many locations right after this one. So this first one's going to be coming through, just to give a general time frame. We have this first one moving through tonight into Sunday in portions of the Northeast. That one's going to quickly move off towards the Northeast, and the next one to exit the scene. Then we look towards Monday to Tuesday. That's January 8th to 9th. That's the primary timing for this winter storm that's going to move through portions of the Midwest. Then we look towards the 12th to the 14th and maybe even the 15th. That's when our next storm is coming in. And you can see here the 18Z GFS is just getting out to it now. And there it is developing over the plains. And I'll go back to the 12Z run. This isn't set in stone once again, so this is going to change 100%. This is just a general idea of what's possible. So you can see here, yeah, this one has this one's looking like a pretty big one for my area. Of course, this is just one run, so the things could change. But the general ensemble mean right now for this storm, they're pretty tightly packed with this first one. So this first one's going to move through, as I said, I can draw the line better. This first one's going to take a track something like this. So you can see that would put a bulk of the snowfall over Chicago and Milwaukee areas back into Kansas, northern Missouri. This second one, it looks like that's going to be a little bit farther towards the southeast. So that's going to be more of a threat for areas like Tulsa, St. Louis, Springfield, Missouri, areas farther south in central Illinois, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Columbus, if this southeastern track verifies. So that would be a track more like this. And that would bring the heavier snow totals in this general area if that track verifies. Although it could shift back off towards the north, and we could have a track similar to this system that's coming through earlier on this week. So that is still not set in stone, but one thing is certain though, with these two winter storms, they're coming, and we need to monitor the forecast very closely because there's the forecast is not set in stone for either one of these systems. But something that is set in stone regarding both of these systems is the cold, and the cold is going to come in big time
Check
behind
this
this
out.
second system. This is going to be big, folks. There's our first system moving on through. You can see it moving on through there. So we have a brief cold spell that moves through areas that were affected by it, and then it warms up a little bit, perhaps, and then we get the big one, and there it is moving on through, and then you get the Arctic blast that moves on through. There's our second system moving on through there. Look at how cold this gets.
Stinging cold there.
This is getting into medium range, but models are extremely confident on this happening. And to the degree that it's going to happen, it looks like it's going to be big. Many locations, I'd probably give a rough outline of an area here. I don't know what's going on with my WSV3, but a rough outline area here of this general region, I'd say. Take this circle with a grain of salt as far as south as it goes, but in particular, these areas in this general circle are going to see temperatures probably below zero after this second winter storm comes through. So, and this pattern is going away anytime soon. This cold is going to stick around, and this training winter storm pattern is not going away anytime soon. So many locations would not surprise me after this winter storm in about a week's time from this video going out comes through. It would not surprise me if we see even more wintry weather for these locations after that, including the Northeast, Nathan.
Happy New Year!
Yes, winter has certainly arrived with a storm coming, hasn't it?
And a look at the northeast right now. Philadelphia looks like it had quite a bit of snow earlier, turning to rain. New York, according to this radar, just holding on. New York City with some snow right now. I imagine that will turn to rain pretty soon. But that was myself and Ethan there covering the latest. Just a few notes from the National Weather Service in each of the regional offices. Significant snowfall today and tonight is the headline from State College, Pennsylvania. And they're expecting 1 inch plus per hour snow rates, resulting in near zero visibility and snow-covered roads. Who's this? This is from Binghamton, New York. I thought we had that actually in a thing, but I guess not. Oh, we did. There it is. So, expected storm total snowfall there. They're expecting up to 12 inches in a few spots there. This is the view from, where are we now? I am completely lost. Albany, New York. Which is right in the middle of all of this. They're expecting potentially up to 18 inches of snow from this current event tonight into Sunday. Here's the view from New York City. They're expecting totals fairly inland there of around 8 inches in Middletown, and a big uncertainty about snowfall and whether it turns to rain or how much snow and rain it will be in that dotted area. And finally Boston, showing similar graphics actually. They're not so sure about that dashed line, whether that's going to be snow or rain or indeed accumulations, but possibly up to 18 inches again in the Worcester area, Fitchburg and Lawrence, and Boston could get up to 8 inches. Whether it all falls as snow or not is certainly up for debate. So there we are, Ethan. Thanks for joining me tonight. Anything else you want to
add? Stay tuned to your National Weather Service office, and please, if you do end up having to travel during any of these winter storms or the after effects, even during the cold, please stay safe and please take the necessary precautions to make sure that you are uninjured or unharmed during these winter storms. These are big and should be taken with utmost seriousness.
And hopefully Mitchell enjoys it out there as he doesn't stray too far from their house when it snows properly, Ethan.
No, he has. He went outside in the snow this morning, and safe to say that he was impressed.
Fair enough. And if you do have any photos or videos that you'd like to share for a future broadcast, please send them in contact@force13.com, or you can share it over social media or contact Foycaster on Discord. That's me, by the way. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.